which of the painted peacocks is our Mr. Bingley?
Well, he's on the right, and on the left is his sister.
And the person with the quizzical brow?
That is his good friend, Mr. Darcy.
He looks miserable, poor soul.
Miserable he may be, but poor he most certainly is not.
Tell me.
10,000 a year, and he owns half of Derbyshire.
The miserable half.
You are dancing with the only handsome girl in the room.
She is the most beautiful creature I have ever beheld. But her sister Elizabeth is very agreeable.
Perfectly tolerable, I dare say. But not handsome enough to tempt me. You'd better return to your partner and enjoy her smiles. You're wasting your time with me.
Count your blessings, Lizzie. If he liked you, you'd have to talk to him.
Precisely. As it is, I wouldn't dance with him for all of Derbyshire, let alone the miserable half.
So what do you recommend to encourage affection?
Dancing. Even if one's partner is barely tolerable.
Do not be alarmed. Excepting a sore throat, a fever and a headache, there is nothing much wrong with me. This is ridiculous.
Well, if Jane does die, it'd be a comfort to know it was in pursuit of Mr. Bingley.
People do not die of cold.
But she may well perish with the shame of having such a mother.
I cannot boast of knowing more than half a dozen women in all my acquaintance that are truly accomplished.
Nor I, to be sure.
Goodness, you must comprehend a great deal in the idea.
I do.
Absolutely. She must have a thorough knowledge of music, singing, drawing, dancing, and the modern languages to deserve the word. And something in her air and manner of walking.
And of course she must improve her mind by extensive reading.
I'm no longer surprised at your knowing only 6 accomplished women. I rather want to know at your knowing any.
Are you so severe on your own sex?
I never saw such a woman. She would certainly be a fearsome thing to behold.
I've often observed to Lady Catherine that her daughter seemed born to be a duchess, for she has all the superior graces of elevated rank.
How happy for you, Mr. Collins, to possess the talent for flattering with such delicacy.
These pleasing attentions proceed from the impulse of the moment, or are they the result of previous study?
They arise chiefly from what is passing at the time, and though I do sometimes amuse myself with arranging such little elegant compliments, I always wish to give them as unstudied an air as possible.
Oh, believe me, no one would suspect your manners to be rehearsed. It is your turn to say something, Mr. Darcy. I talked about the dance. Now you ought to remark on the size of the room or the number of couples.
I'm perfectly happy to oblige. Please advise me of what you would like most to hear.
That reply will do for present. Perhaps by and by I may observe that private balls are much pleasanter than public ones. For now we may remain silent.
You talk as a rule while dancing?
No. No, I prefer to be unsociable and taciturn. Makes it all so much more enjoyable, don't you think?
Your younger sisters, are they out in society?
Yes, Ma'am, all.
All? Would all 5 out at once? Oh, that's very odd. And you only the second. The younger ones out before the elders are married. Your youngest sisters must be very young.
Yes, my youngest is not 16. But I think it would be very hard on younger sisters not to have their share of amusement because the elder is still unmarried. It would hardly encourage sisterly affection.
Upon my word, you give your opinion very decidedly for so young a person. Pray, what is your age?
With 3 younger sisters grown up, your ladyship can hardly expect me to own to it.
What was my friend like in Hertfordshire?
You really care to know? Prepare yourself for something very dreadful. The first time I saw him at the assembly, he danced with nobody at all. even though gentlemen were scarce and there was more than one young lady sitting down without a partner.
I knew nobody beyond my own party.
Oh, and nobody can be introduced in a ballroom.
I do not have the talent of conversing easily with people I have never met before.
Perhaps you should take your aunt's advice and practice.
I love you. Most ardently. Please do me the honor of accepting my hand.
Sir, I'm sure that the feelings which, as you've told me, have hindered your regard will help you in overcoming it.
Might I ask why, with so little endeavour at civility, I am thus repulsed?
And I might as well inquire why, with so evident a design of insulting me, you chose to tell me that you like me against your better judgment.
Could you expect me to rejoice in the inferiority of your circumstances?
And those are the words of a gentleman. From the first moment I met you, your arrogance and conceit, your selfish disdain for the feelings of others, made me realise that you were the last man in the world I could ever be prevailed upon to marry.
A report of a most alarming nature has reached me that you intend to be united with my nephew, Mr. Darcy. I know this to be a scandalous falsehood. Though not wishing to injure him by supposing it possible, I instantly set off to make my sentiments known.
If you believed it to be impossible, I wonder you took the trouble of coming so far.
To hear it contradicted, Miss Bennet.
Your coming will be rather a confirmation, surely, if indeed such a report exists.
If? Do you then pretend to be ignorant of it? Has it not been industriously circulated by yourself?
I have never heard of it.
And can you declare there is no foundation for it?
Do not pretend to possess equal frankness with your ladyship. You may ask a question which I may choose not to answer.
This is not to be borne. Has my nephew made you an offer of marriage?
Your ladyship has declared it to be impossible.
Let me be understood. Mr. Darcy is engaged to my daughter. Now what have you to say?
Only this, if that is the case, you can have no reason to suppose he would make an offer to me.
You selfish girl. This union has been planned since their infancy. Do you think it can be prevented by a young woman of inferior birth, whose own sister's elopement resulted in a scandalously patched-up marriage, only achieved at the expense of your uncle? Heaven and earth, are the shades of Pemberley to be thus polluted? Now tell me once and for all, are you engaged to him?
I am not.
And will you promise never to enter into such an engagement?
I will not, and I certainly never shall. You have insulted me in every possible way and can now have nothing further to say. I must ask you to leave immediately. Good night.
I have never been thus treated in my entire life.